You're listening to the Underground Voices Network. You will be hearing unfiltered truth from voices living the news.
I was just at the hospital on Sunday, and this may really shock you. This morning, some doctors were allowed into the hospital through underground sewage tunnels. It started Sunday and it ended today. I'll explain how it happened. On Sunday, the United Nations was supposed to visit that hospital. So any doctor who did not support the communist regime was not even allowed on the premises of the hospital. That included the president of the hospital. The only ones that were there were medical students that would accept to wear the red hat and put the Venezuelan patch. You know how the Nazis had that armband that they wore?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, they made the same armband, but with the Venezuelan flag. And on the backside, it's got the red and yellow colors, just like the what was it, the hammer and sickle or something like that for the Communist Party.
For the Communist Party.
The red and yellow, same colors, but it's got the name of the Socialist Party, United Socialist Party of Venezuela, and then the front has the Venezuelan flag. All right, I'm going to take 30 seconds to tell you this whole thing. Sunday, anybody supporting President Juan Guaido was not allowed on the premises, so that's why everybody was protesting and rioting on the outside. At that moment, there was a lady who was related to one of our family members at church. She had gone in to the hospital to have a surgery on her wrist. This was supposed to be maybe at the most an hour and a half procedure. Between opening, fixing, and closing, an hour and a half at the most. 5 hours later, nobody knows except her two sons, her son and daughter that are outside waiting. So, why is it taking so long? Finally, the daughter finds a doctor friend of hers and says, "Loan me your coat," and walks through the doors. This is one of the doctors that was outside protesting on Sunday. "Loan me your coat. My mom's inside and I can't go in." So she put her coat on, put her cap on, put her face mask on, walked in, and she finally finds her mom opened up from here all the way down to below her belly button, completely open, organs hanging, blood oozing everywhere. Her mom was actually dead at that moment. There was no life. She was pale, drained. Her wrist was open. The other wrist was open. One of her ankles were open. They noticed some organs missing. She opened up, ran out, called her brother. Brother comes. This is all Sunday. We're there at the hospital while this is happening. Her brother runs in. He starts knocking medical equipment down to the floor, screaming. I mean, imagine you see your mom like this. How would you react? They panicked. They got angry. They punched what looked like doctors. Well, the investigation came up today, and none of them were doctors. They were all medical students.
Oh, gosh.
But they were all dressed, and it said doctor, because these were the only ones supporting. They were actually in the communist university, so they were allowed to be in. And when this lady came in, they actually had to operate her so that the people from the United Nations could look and say, "Oh, yeah, they're operating." They opened her up, didn't know what was wrong. She walked in for a wrist repair. She died.
Oh,
The son is still in prison right now. He's still in jail just because he punched one of the students. I'm like, what about the guys who killed the mom? Well, today, the real doctors that are still not being allowed. Matter of fact, the president just announced Sunday that no government official no public employee that does not support President Maduro, the communist regime, will not get paid anymore. I've had about 5-6 people in our church say, "Pastor, I'm a teacher. I'm a this. I just got word that I'm not going to get paid again until I sign a petition saying that I wish to be part of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela." I mean, it's Hitler at its core. It's the whole thing repeating itself. So they had to bring in the real doctors under the sewage tunnels this morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they brought them in with organs. And these were people that were inside the hospital waiting for an organ transplant, or waiting for surgery or whatever, and nobody there could operate. This is one of the top hospitals in the country, and the only people in there right now are students. And so this is a country at war. At the gas station, there's civilians with the red shirt and red hat and a fully automatic weapon standing at the gas station. We are at war. I hate saying it, but it's the fact. There is no other beautiful way to say it. It's a country at war. The sad fact that nobody knows it.
It's an ongoing genocide too, if you think about it.
Absolutely.
Because it's the government killing its own people slowly by taking away everything.
Well, not even doing it slowly. They're contaminating the water, because water was never this contaminated ever.
So it's cool.
When I was 12 and 13, I could actually drink from the hose directly from the street water. You can't even drink the filtered water without boiling it or filtering it with cloth and filter sheets like coffee sheets. Or they're not trying to do it slowly. They're trying to do it quickly. So if people aren't leaving, they're dying. And those that are remaining are blindly following government. Thankfully, the majority of the country, even those that used to be for Chavez, are now going, okay, we need to change. So the majority of the country is against this, but they hold the weapons. So it's kind of hard. But they have discreetly and slowly taken away all arms and weapons away. There's no more carry permits. Nobody can have a household gun. So now very few people own weapons in their homes to protect their home.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, there goes again. Now, I know that's a delicate issue still back home, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. I don't want to get somebody upset in the process, but they're bullying everybody and they're doing whatever they want, unfortunately. So we need a lot of prayers. That's for sure, Jennifer, a lot of prayers. And as much help as people can do.
Yeah. That leaves me almost speechless, because it's like, how do you respond? How do you say to all of that, And I think, but I thank you for sharing your story and sharing, the truth about what's going on in Venezuela, because like I said, at the beginning of our conversation, the news isn't doing it. They're not doing justice. They're not giving us the information. They're not helping. They're not, like I said, they're all over the place with whatever is, breaking news at the moment. But for some reason, Venezuela isn't making breaking news. And I know this has been an ongoing issue for many, many, many years now, and it's just getting worse and worse by the day. And something's got to happen. Something has to happen in order for the attention to be drawn back to Venezuela. And unfortunately, it's in history has, taught us that, as humans, we tend to shift our attention to an issue when things get really, really bad. I mean,
we wait till it's too late and then we do something about it.
Exactly. Like, Nazi Germany and with the Holocaust and it was, by then it was so late. I mean, people were dying. So many Jews were killed. And all of that could have been prevented and avoided, perhaps. And so it's just, we say, after that, we've said, never again will we allow for another country, for another people group to go through that, to be slaughtered for no reason, to be, for a genocide of a whole nation to be conducted. And yet we've allowed it each time after time. We've just stood by as leaders, as, corrupt tyrants just take over and just murder their people slowly and then quickly and then right before our eyes, and we don't blink an eye.
We've become so politically correct that we've actually granted criminals the rights to destroy, kill, annihilate. And we've said, well, they all have the right to do what they need to do. Let's let them do that. And after we've got sufficient evidence, we'll start arguing and debating about what we're going to do. And I've seen that happen over and over again. Too much bureaucracy, too much red tape, too much blah blah, and less action. My sons sometimes didn't want to go to some of these peaceful protests, and I said, guys, put your white shirts on, let's go out. I said each one of our white shirts from a faraway picture is going to be a white spot that's filled instead of a white spot that's empty.
All right.
I said we need to let that guy know that there's more against him than for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, don't let a little bit of sun, put some sunblock on, wear a hat, put some glasses on, get comfortable, wear a light t-shirt, but don't let anything be an excuse to do what you got to do. And sometimes I think comfort is one of our worst enemies, because if I don't really have to, then the question is, why should I?
Mm-hmm.
I think if every country right now that could actually do something for Venezuela stood up and said, you know what, we've had enough, we're going to do a little bit, a lot would happen. I think if enough Venezuelans stood up right now, a lot would happen, but everybody's scared, or too comfortable, or too scared, either one. And that's two things that God actually warns us about. He says, never be too idle, too relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
You'll end up sinning, he says. And the Bible says, and I'm gonna not quote it directly, he says, if in the day of work you're lazy, then whatever strength you have remaining, I will take away from you. And I will give it to those that want to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want God to take my strength away, as he says in Proverbs. I want him to give me more. And I'm 43. I started when I was 20-something, and I don't feel weaker. If anything, I feel more empowered today than ever,
Mm-hmm.
and more excited to do it. And when I find people like you that are equally excited or passionate about God and making a difference somewhere in the world, man, I love it.
Well, thank you for sharing your story. I mean, I know it must not be easy, to first of all to share it to a complete stranger such as myself, but the other thing is, I know with you speaking out, of course, against the government, speaking out against what's going on, it also puts a risk. Puts a risk on your life, puts a risk on your family's life, and in a risk, in the lives of the other people that you serve. And so, thank you for for taking that risk and for sharing the stories, so that those stories can come out here, and we can share them with the rest of the world, and those who need to hear them. Because I always say, we might live in a democracy, and we're comfortable, and we've got all the luxuries in the world right now, but we're not far from reaching that point either, and it's very ignorant of us and naive of us to think that what's going on in Venezuela could never happen to us, because in a blink of an eye.
That was a phrase said in 2002. Somebody said this may become Cuba. And I remember they said it on live TV. That'll never happen here in Venezuela.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Exactly. And that's the sentiment. That's the same response and feelings that I get from people here. The United States could never be, like Cuba could never be like, those other countries that go. And it's just everything. In a blink of an eye, things can just change.
Enough people doing nothing.
Yeah,
it'll happen.
Exactly. So I think I thank you for sharing your story, for your courage and your strength to to come out and share this with us. And hopefully we'll be sharing more stories. Hopefully you'll be sharing more stories with us as you feel comfortable, as you can. And please feel free to, if you see something, or if you hear something, or if you have the feeling, the need to just record a video and then
Absolutely.
send it over our way, please do so. And then that way we can be, updating daily or quick, or weekly.
That all the time. I always carry my camera on with me, so you'll start getting a few quick video clips of stuff that happens.
Thank you. I mean, it's, we live in the world of emerging technologies, so we might as well take advantage of it and use it for, use it for good instead of evil. And
That's right.
and I think we can educate the world. We can educate the U.S. We can educate other churches about the realities of not just socialism, but the spiritual warfare that's really going on out there, and that we're sometimes very blind to and unaware of because we're too comfortable in our little bubbles in suburbia.